These days, going to college can be expensive, very expensive. In fact, once a student graduates, many times they're tens of thousands of dollars in debt. I take a look into the effects of soaring tuition today and speak to organizations making it possible for aspiring students to seek a higher education. I'm Brenna Kamal. This is Our Issues, Twin Cities. For aspiring college students, the U.S. is one of the best places in the world for a higher education. But that can come with a price, many times a very high price.
As a recent graduate, I have $40,000 in debt from a state institution. And I know just from amongst my other friends that that's on the lower end.
Today, Kara is the president of the Minnesota State University Student Association, an organization by the students for the students. Once a student graduates, many times they're tens of thousands of dollars in debt. How has that affected today's students?
I just kind of see this pressure, and I call it weight. And it's the weight of not knowing if you're going to be able to make your bills. It's the weight of not knowing if you're going to be able to get a successful job that you can afford to pay these astronomical payments off every month. And it feels heavy, and I see students who are really, really struggling, and when they kind of reach out and ask for help, it's often met with, well, I got through college while I was working a part-time job, or this is just how it is. And I think at our organization, we don't believe that this is how it is. We think it can be better.
Since 1978, college tuition and fees have soared by more than 1,000%. In the most recent survey of college pricing today, the College Board reports that a moderate college budget for an in-state public college for the 2015-2016 academic year averaged $24,000. A moderate budget at a private college averaged more than $47,000. In fact, Minnesota ranks 5th in the nation for student debt.
I think that it's important for our state and our country to continue to look at making investments in higher education.
As the executive director of College Possible, Sarah says this has been a huge barrier on today's students.
In our nation, there are more than 200,000 students that are graduating from high school each year that are capable of going to college but aren't. It is important that we continue to make investments so that those students can go on to college and graduate and be successful. In an organization like ours at College Possible, we're really focused on working with students across the Twin Cities, across the state, to make sure that they are aware of those higher education options and have every possible opportunity to pursue those.
Higher education for our state is going to help us grow. It's a public good. And the way that it's just been slashed is heartbreaking, because all that goes to the students who are simply trying to be better and be a better contributor to our society.
Why do you think Minnesota ranks so high for student debt?
I see Minnesota as kind of a North Star, and that we do value higher education. We have so many higher education institutions in our state. Part of the reason, if you ask, the Office of Higher Education, is because we do have a lot of students that attend university and institutions of higher education. So that would automatically mean that there's more debt.
Through the Minnesota State University Student Association, Kara works with students to educate them on issues that face students today. What are the current issues or current higher education issues that affect students today?
One of the things I think is really important that's not being talked as much about is mental health on our college campuses and the services that are available to students. Right now we're doing a campaign on mental health through MSUSA, and for some students, mental health is the difference between whether or not they stay at one of our schools and get a degree or they drop out. We're talking all the time at a higher level at MnSCU about retention and what it means to our system to have students stay at our system. And if we're not talking about mental health and the enormous amount of pressure that's placed on students and the enormous amount of stress and weight of the student debt that's going to happen after, then I think we're doing a huge disservice.
What else are you guys doing at MSUSA to educate students on these issues and provide opportunities through that knowledge?
On each of our 7 state universities, we have campus committees, and I really think our campus committees are kind of the soul of what we do. They're the students on our campuses who are active and talking to students and sharing our services and talking about what we can do to make things better for them. So our campus committees right now are focusing on issues of equity and inclusion and diversity on our campuses. They're talking about textbook affordability, which is a huge thing. We could have a whole session on that. They're talking about mental health awareness, and they're also talking about sexual violence prevention. So these are the things that we have groups of students on each of our campus mobilizing and getting their feedback, and they're saying, you know, this is important to us, and bringing that back up to myself and my board so that we can take actions on it.
When we return, making college possible for low-income students.
Both my parents took a different route, decided not to go to a 4-year institution. But I have 2 older sisters that attend the U of M right now, and I kind of follow their footsteps and ask them for help.
18-year-old Somali-American Mohammed is a soon-to-be first-generation college student. A senior at Washburn High School in Minneapolis, Mohammed is currently in the process of narrowing down his post-secondary plans with the help of Achieve Minneapolis. How have they been helpful with your post-secondary plans?
They remind you about due dates. They show you how to submit applications, send transcripts and stuff like that, and I think that's very beneficial.
Achieve Minneapolis works with young people, mainly young people of color, to make their career and college aspirations a reality.
If you come from a family that doesn't have a college-going culture, or if you come from a family that is low income, then providing a roof over your head, providing food for your family on the table is something that is always going to be priority number 1.
Minnesota has the worst education gap between black and white students among the entire nation. Achieve Minneapolis is equipping high school students to meet those challenges. As the first-generation American and college graduate, Iman is the Career and College Center Coordinator at Washburn High School for Achieve Minneapolis. What challenges do young people face today because of that gap?
So students of color are often the first generation college students in their family. There are tremendous barriers that exist with that. The college application process, the financial aid process can often be a really daunting process. There's so many complex layers, there's jargon that's used, there's data that you have to provide in order to apply for college, to apply for scholarships, to apply for financial aid in FAFSA. And if you don't understand what that college going process looks like, and if you haven't navigated it yourself, then it's really difficult for you to provide that information and to provide that support for the young people that exist in your life. So that is one tremendous barrier. I would say one of the other huge barriers to this college going and the employment gap and the education gap for our young people that exist in the Twin Cities today is that college historically is way more expensive than it has ever been. That is something that's incredibly daunting.
How important is higher education for young people, and especially young people of color, to close that gap?
In order to close that gap, education is imperative. It is absolutely imperative. By the year 2018, 70% of jobs in Minnesota will require some sort of post-secondary degree, whether it be from a 4-year college, whether it be from a 2-year technical college. Education is something that is going to be necessary in order to make yourself viable and to make yourself marketable in the global workforce. And it is just really important that students have that access to higher education, have the access to that knowledge to be able to, in the future, have a family that, have a job that has a family sustaining wage.
What are you guys doing with Achieve Minneapolis to help prepare young people of color for a higher education?
We really help students work very closely with students one-on-one and with their families to create really individualized plans with them. One of the most important things to making sure that a young person has a post-secondary plan that really fits for them is to sit down with them and plan it and have an honest conversation with them. We want to make sure that they're selecting schools and programs that are the best fit for them, their level of skill, their interests, their abilities, and more importantly, what they're going to be able to afford. So if we sit down with someone and say, if this is what you're interested in studying, what program is going to be the most cost efficient, and is this program going to be something that is going to allow you to have a family sustaining wage once you graduate from college? So we do a lot of really mindful, honest planning with them.
I think that it's important for our state and our country to continue to look at making investments in higher education for all students, but particularly for those that perhaps come from a low-income background and need those extra opportunities to advance their life and advance their career.
College Possible is also working to close the gap by making college admission possible for 12,000 low-income students.
How successful has the program been for low-income students over the years?
I'm proud to say that College Possible students are 10 times more likely to graduate and hold that degree than their low-income peers. So we've had great success in the last 15 years, growing from 2 high schools to more than 25 high schools today. We're working with thousands of students. Our history, 99% of our students have earned admission to college, and the graduation rate, the college graduation rate of our students is 5 times greater than low-income peers.
The organization has partnered with various high schools around the Twin Cities to guide and prepare low-income students for college through the help of mentors and coaches.
25 school partners here in the Twin Cities and nearly 30 school partners in Greater Minnesota. And so the relationships that we have are relationships where the school has said, we want a program like College Possible supporting our students. We have low-income students that would benefit from this program. And our organization has said, we would like to partner with you and make sure that more of those students are on their path to college. And so it's really great relationships that are formed where all partners are committed to student success. And so we're thrilled that we've got so many partners in the Twin Cities and throughout the state, because every partner means the opportunity to reach more and more low-income students.
How do you work with students to ensure that they have a successful graduation?
We start with students when we're recruiting them sophomore year. We bring them into our program junior year, and we coach and support them all the way through their college graduation. So every year that the student is in our program, they have a coach. It's a near-peer mentor that will be working with that student really intensively on curriculum and navigation and support. So in high school, the coaches are meeting with students after school and preparing them for their ACTs and to increase their college exams scores, working with students to identify and apply for colleges, secure financial aid and scholarships. And then in college, coaches will be working with students every step of the way to make sure that academically things are going well, socially things are going well, that they are finding the resources that they need on the campus to be successful.
Up next on Our Issues Twin Cities,
We have students who are in more debt due to their demographics or background.
today about 70% of Minnesota students borrow loans to pay for college. Earlier this year, Minnesota launched a new student loan refinance program. Qualified Minnesota residents carrying large amounts of student debt could be eligible.
How essential is this program for today's students?
Financial aid, loan, refinancing, all this stuff is so complex and very difficult to understand. So we try to make it a little bit more accessible. And we hope and we also advise that our government and our institutions make it more accessible.
Last year, 70% of Minnesota college students graduated with some debt, averaging more than $30,000 per student. But experts say that graduating with college debt is worth it.
The only thing that would be more expensive than going to college is not going to college. Well, when you look at the rising costs of college and the burden that a student faces with debt, it's become, I think, easier for people in the community to advocate that a student doesn't go to college and goes right into the workforce. And maybe that's been successful for a couple of high-profile individuals that have gone right into the workforce, but if we really want to ensure that a student has the most fulfilling career in life, college is a really important option for them.
Today, a college degree doubles the typical person's annual income.
A student that goes to college and has a degree will earn $1 million more in their lifetime than a student that doesn't. And so even as a cost of tuition might increase or debt might increase, it is a much more expensive option for a student not to pursue higher education.
And especially today.
Absolutely. When you look at recent studies that show a projection of what we'll need in our workforce, by 2020, we are going to, so many positions in our state and in our country are going to require a college degree. And right now, we're projecting a 5 million worker shortfall in workers that have that higher education that's required. So it is absolutely necessary for students to think about those higher education options and pursue them.
Through College Possible, the chance of a low-income student attending a four-year institution is more than double.
How important is College Possible for low-income students seeking assistance?
I think College Possible is a really, really important program that can help a student that doesn't quite know how to navigate that path to college, that is maybe interested in going, but doesn't have all of the resources that they need to get there and be successful. And College Possible can provide that mentoring, that guidance, that support, and strong partnerships and relationships that can help the student all the way through. The relationships that an organization like College Possible has with high schools, with colleges, with partners in our community, and with the families of students can bring everyone together to make sure that that student is on their path for success.
Achieve Minneapolis is also leading their students on a path to success. Not only does Achieve Minneapolis help out students with college finances, they begin to prepare their students for college from freshman year of high school.
We are in one of your career and college centers, which is another program that you offer through Achieve Minneapolis. What does the Career and College Center offer for the students?
So the Career and College Center exists as a hub of resources for young people to really help support them throughout this entire process, to navigate college applications, to sit down with them, look at financial aid packages, and to make sure that we're planning a package that helps them be successful.
How beneficial has the Career and College Center been for students?
The Career and College Centers have been incredibly effective within Minneapolis. We serve about 9,000 students each year. We complete the college application process, ACT completion, the FAFSA completion rates. So those are three things that we've really been focusing on, and the numbers have increased in all of our Minneapolis public schools. Overall, we've increased FAFSA completion rates, college application rates, and helped students make sure that they register and complete the ACT as well.
They always remind you about due dates. Like, they help you in many ways. They help you with applications, scholarships, basically anything you need they will help you with.
And at the Minnesota State University Student Association, students run the show as leaders of the organization, guiding fellow peers to a brighter future.
We're student run. Our board of directors are all students, and that is such a unique and powerful way to say that this truly is an organization for the students and by the students. Our staff, most of them have attended one of our institutions, which is really cool. They truly understand the uniqueness of Minnesota State University versus the U or State College. And they make excellent recommendations, but when it all comes down to it, I try to reinforce this idea that this is your organization, you pay for it, this is your decision-making power, you know, in the path for finding a better outcome for students. The passion and the excitement and the way that these students talk about what's important to them is just truly amazing.
And despite today's trend of increasing costs to attend college, The value of a degree makes up more than a difference for a successful future.
Today's students are tomorrow's future. How important is it to invest in our students today?
It is incredibly important that we invest in the young people in the Twin Cities today. The workforce of the Twin Cities is aging out of the workforce, quite frankly, and we need to make sure that we have really competent, confident, multilingual, multicultural, culturally competent people so that our economy can exist in the global workforce. Right now in the Twin Cities, we have an incredibly diverse, really smart, globally conscious young people, and the potential that they'd be able to bring to Minnesota's economy would be incredible. We just need to make sure that we are investing in them. As investing in them as individuals, we are investing in our future.
Thank you for joining me this week on Our Issues Twin Cities. I'm Rena Kamal. See you next time.